rushed to the hospital for crossing 4 Xanax and a bottle of vodka. An hour after it happened, the principal came into our class searching the trash can for bottles. He pulled them out and sniffed them until he found the one that smelled of vodka and then just left. We were all really confused until the end of the day when we learned what had happened. I was surprised to learn that water bottles were not banned when we came back the next week. We weren't allowed to be indoors for more than 5 minutes at recess. This was in Canada and indoor recess started when it was below -25°C. Instances of school-wide diarrhea really shot up during the winter. In 3rd grade we had to have playmates. It basically meant that we couldn't play with our friends on the breaks recess. We had to play in a group. That group was filled with students from other classes too. Not fun. Couldn't wear flip-flops because they were considered a weapon, but you could wear stiletto heels. Buses were not allowed to depart at the end of the school day until the flag on the flagpole outside the main entrance had been taken down and properly put away. If someone forgot, all the buses would sit there idling for as long as it would take until the flag was dealt with. In elementary school, we couldn't kick a ball at recess because the school was afraid we would kick the gonads to the top of the building. No one could wear Joe's Crab Shack shirts. At first it was just the tie-dye ones that said, "Peace, love and crabs." Because of the implication of sex and pubic lice, I suppose. It was a stretch. But then they expanded to any Joe's Crab Shack shirts. My friend had to wear a pay shirt all day because her shirt was a Joe's Crab Shack shirt. It didn't have offensive slogan on it. It just had a picture of a crab and the restaurant's name. She still had to change shirts. She was so embarrassed because no one wants to wear your pay shirt all day. When I was a freshman in high school, late 80s, there was a designated smoking area on campus. It was a square, maybe 10 feet x 10 feet, painted on the ground in the courtyard. Students could only smoke in that box on campus. The next year they decided that you could only smoke in that box if you had a note from your parents. A year after that, no students were allowed to smoke on campus. My senior year, staff wasn't allowed to smoke on campus. This resulted in the box metaphorically moving to someone's driveway across the street, where students and teachers were all smoking together. No hats was basically the only dress code my school had. The dumbest thing was Marizo, the reasoning behind it. It was put into effect after Columbine because apparently different groups, jocks, nerds, goths, etc., wore different headgear to differentiate themselves. We couldn't wear winter clothing in class, coats, gloves, hats, even with the heat on. It got cold in the winter inside the school, so we just had to freeze. They said it was because winter clothing were gang symbols. This was a farm town in Wisconsin. At my grade school we weren't allowed to wear ankle socks. You would get detention if you did. What's the point of that? It was a Catholic school, so my guess is they considered ankles to be sexual. We could not touch each other. All physical contact was banned. There was one teacher that claimed if it wasn't for this rule, we would all be running around raping each other. Ah. Yes. Truly the time of my life. Bandanas and headbands that were similar to bandanas were banned in ad. The reason was that it increased gang violence among 11-14-year-olds in the suburbs of a small town in Canada. Can't wear ed to school. So stupid. Was your school in known crip territory? Lol, who knows? All I know is I was mad I couldn't wear ed. They boys were not allowed to have doors on our stalls. We had a brick wall about 4 feet high between toilets with nothing in front. They said boys would ruin them. What kind of prison did you go to? Pennsylvania. No one was allowed to have or say the word Dr. Pepper because it was the password to a shared browser's account the administration found out about. Oh, that's hilarious though. Went to a Catholic school where there was a big white line painted across the schoolyard, and during recess boys played on one side and girls on the other. We were not allowed to intermingle during recess even though we weren't separated during class or lunch. I'm a guy and all my friends were girls, so we used to stand at the line and talk. Go in trouble many times for that. Also in high school. Post Columbine. We weren't allowed to carry backpacks around the school. We had to leave them in our lockers and carry our heaviest textbooks around. Well, 3 of them. No mechanical pencils or any pens that click. Teachers found that sheet annoying. No peeing outside the toilet or urinal. Common decency, but if you're caught, you would get a call to your parents. The rule isn't stupid. It's actually really good. But the people who it's targeted at are zero tolerance policy. It's in nearly every school. I haven't had any encounters, but it does strike people hard. Imagine getting beat up. And getting punished for being beat up because you happen to be involved even though you did nothing. It's a big dig of a rule. No Simpsons anything. This was when it premiered. And there was this national scare that Bart was a bad influence. There were 2 popular Bart shirts that were banned. One that said "I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?" And another that said "Bart Simpson. Underachiever and proud of it." This eventually evolved into banning all Simpsons shirts, school supplies, stickers, etc. after some of the teachers started watching the show. In 2nd grade, only 1 boy and 1 girl were allowed to go to the bathroom at a time. I had to pee so bad that I was shaking, and this kid took a stupid amount of time to get back. He finally came back and I had to wait in a line to his desk, and he finally said I could go. Pissed myself on the way there. Duck you, Mr. Benish. Hair couldn't be extreme, colored or pastel lobes for guys, as it would be considered a distraction to others. I had long hair past my shoulders and would not cut it. Was a nice a lot. It's a silly thing to get detention for. Kids don't go to school to be told how to dress and how they should look. I remember how much of an impact The Breakfast Club movie had on me in my junior high days. In middle school we weren't allowed to chew gum. I was caught and had to write a 2,000-word report on the history of pizza. I wrote that damn report and my teacher forgot and never asked for it. Non-American here. We need to pay fine when we don't speak English in school. In every class. Class leader used to note down student names who ever speak their native language other than English. This rule went on for 2 years and then they finally removed it. What kind of school would do that? It used to be common in schools in India a decade ago. It's because of India's obsession with English. Even parents want their children to have conversation in English with them. They think speaking in English make them look elite class. This may be the reason for schools to adopt this policy. When I was in high school, taking my 2nd year of photography class, everyone was called into the auditorium for an assembly. It was to announce that cameras were no longer allowed to be used on campus due to privacy issues. This was about 2 weeks after the school had installed security cameras everywhere in the school. No solid red, blue, and towards the end of high school, no purple either. God forbid you wear more than one item with the same color. Gang territory? Apparently. Everyone thinks they're a tough guy in the Central Valley. In California. Needing to wait 10 minutes before and after classes have started to use the restroom. My adolescent body with developing Crohn's disease did not take kindly to this rule. And got into fights with the bathroom monitor often. Someone who would make sure nobody was in the bathroom for too long doing drugs, having sex, other things of the sort. Thankfully the principal had a heart of gold and gave me a special pass to use his personal private bathroom, which was so nice and clean. In a high school of 5,000 teenagers, being able to poop in peace at the rate you go with Crohn's disease made my life somewhat less shitty, pun intended. In middle school, had a stupid as all hell one-way hallway system, where students could only walk in the halls one direction. Made me late twice actually, since my class was the first one behind the exit door. But forced to go in the entrance door. Was enforced even when halls were empty. One stick in the mud teacher threatened to write me up if I questioned the rule. You have to ask permission to have a drink. This rule got ignored when I was in year 10. But I still remember one teacher just screaming at me for taking a sip of water on a hot day. I was in the first grade. We only had one recess and it was in the late afternoon. We had to walk in a straight line to the playground. Stand in the playground yard in a straight line quietly while the two teachers who pulled playground duty lead us through some basic exercises. Here is the problem, we are first graders. It's late afternoon. And you honestly expect us to stand there on a playground after an entire day of sitting in class at our desk doing work and listening to instructions and only having one break, lunch, and do basic exercises while standing on a ducking playground? I am a sadist and this school taught me how to do it well. And when we wouldn't properly do what we were told, the basic exercises continued. Meaning less time playing and burning energy and having just a little bit of fun during the day. Sometime in January something happened and we royally pissed off those two teachers. So when they pulled recess duty there was no exercising and playing. No. We had to stand in line for the entire recess period. So about twice a week for the remainder of the school year. This school taught me sadism. Taught me well. When I was in middle school that god-awful Shrek is Love Shrek is Life video came out and the student council wanted to have a Shrek Spirit Day because of it. So the school banned Shrek and anyone who talked about it got a detention. Girls couldn't wear tank tops because showing armpits wasn't allowed but guys could wear wife beaters. Made no sense. No chains on wallets back in the day when chain wallets were the thing so dudes replaced their chains with pearl necklaces as an FU to admin. No black lipstick allowed. Oh. And they were really concerned about starter jackets and gang activity. This was a small farm town of like 700. Total overreaction. Also most high schools allow you to attend a shorter day if you've met your graduation credits but we had to sit all day and sometimes that meant having 2-3 study halls if we had already met requirements. Such a waste of time. Halfway through 8th grade they decided to ban all beverages including water from use by 8th graders. A couple of kids brought vodka in a water bottle to school and they decided the best option was no liquids at all. We couldn't even bring in sealed beverages or unopened cans because they could have been tampered with. Clear or mesh backpacks only. This was from 1st grade through high school in the late 90s to early 2000s. We also had to wear a safety vest as our bathroom pass in high school. It was such a joke that the first year the rule was introduced, our yearbooks were a giant safety vest on the outside. Honestly the thought of a shared unisex safety vest for bathroom visits still grosses me out as I know those things were never washed properly. Edit. This was before Columbine happened. In primary school, we weren't allowed to put our rubbish from our lunches in the bin. I distinctly remember being in an assembly where the head teacher said your lunchbox is your bin. I mean, did she think the bins were for decoration? So stupid. The boys weren't allowed to wear shorts at my middle school, but the girls could wear culottes, basically shorts with a fancy name. One day about 100 boys came to school wearing culottes. The man had it stuck to him hard that day. Every single year students had to fight for their right to leave school during the lunch break. So when last year's 9th grade had managed to get allowed to leave during lunch break, this year's 9th grade had to also again fight for it. Stupid parents. Backpacks weren't allowed to be worn during the school day in middle school. It was the dumbest thing since you wear your backpack everywhere in high school and college. In my elementary school my teacher made a rule after the first quarter where if your assignment was not fully in cursive you would automatically fail no matter how much you did and how well. The worst part is that we didn't know how to write cursive and we were still learning it. At an all-girls high school, no ankle socks because ankles can attract boys and make them have sex with you. Ankles lead to legs. And legs lead to up there. And we all know what's in that area. Which also, according to the school, was great on the girl's part because you were making the boy want to have sex with you, and boys, as you know, cannot resist. So no ducking in the hallway. Well, it's more like lovemaking in any public areas are strictly prohibited and will be heavily punished. No beards. So I grew mine out. Then they changed it to Nestle trimmed ears. I like mine fluffy and messy. Then they just stopped pushing it. Girls were, and still aren't, supposed to wear yoga or sweatpants unless they have something to cover their butt. This was actually heavily enforced. They would have teachers check all the girls in the beginning of classes for short skirt, yoga or sweatpants with no overshirt or jacket hoodie to cover. Multiple girls were sent home every day for this, mind you. No shoulders could be shown in girls as it caused a distraction for the guys. Lam, get some of that sexier shoulder ya got there. Yeah. That doesn't happen dumbuses. In middle school, the dress code dictated you had to tuck your sheet in. Which might not be a big thing, but they took it so seriously. I think their reasoning was it was more professional? I guess. It was never really explained, and they were handing out detentions for this sheet left and right. No shorts for guys in high school. Girls could wear skirts. Even mini skirts. But so much as a calf showing on a guy and he was sent home or had to change. Apparently, guys showing leg was going to be enough that girls would reach up a leg and pull out that big dig for a right in the middle of the hall. Or something. Oh. And the mini skirts? No attempt was made to regulate their length until one girl, daughter of a male teacher, no less, came in with one that showed the crotch of her panties while she was standing up. She displayed a pretty clear camel toe. No less. But no shorts even at the knee for guys. In middle school we weren't allowed to talk at lunch or else we would get put up on the wall and get handed a detention. Like a clean version of hell. A student at a different school slid down the banister on some stairs and got seriously injured. As a result, all students were banned from using one of the 5 staircases at my school. So we could all die on this one staircase, but the other 4 were completely safe.